Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Jake here, and welcome back to another Pokemon Go PvP video. And in today's video, we are going to be going over something special, and that is going to be the updated version of the Season 1 Silph Arena Regionals meta. So right here in front of us, we have an updated Regionals meta infograph that I will actually be using in a stream with a lot of other content creators just later on today at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So when you're watching this video, we will be having that live stream about 2 hours right after I post this, so make sure to tune in on Pogo Kiang stream. So definitely tune in for that. But yeah, we're going to be breaking down the regionals meta here with the updated Pokemon. And my face is currently covering a bunch of the wildcard picks and then half of the flying group. So we're going to take this off in just one moment here. But right before that, I would like to say, if you guys are new here, please don't forget to smash that subscribe, leave a like, comment down below if you like this content. And make sure to hit that bell notification right next to that subscribe. And also follow me on my Twitter to be notified whenever I go live or upload a video. So right before we actually get into this, guys, I want to make a little announcement here. I have decided to make a Patreon for anyone out there who is in a place to be able to support me just a little bit extra. It is completely optional, guys, and it is not requested or very necessary. So please, if you are in the states to support a little bit extra on Patreon, please try not to feel pressured. I am just here as a content creator to make content, and that little support, the little extra support, guys, will seriously go very, very far. And I am super grateful for everyone who has even watched and subscribed to the channel. This Patreon is mainly for people in need of some more PvP tips. And along with your pledge, you will get a lot of extra perks that come along with it, like a Patreon only Discord server for you guys to come chat with me or ask me any questions or ask me for tips, strategies. I will also be having a tier for PvP coaching, along with your team reviews, even your battle footage that we'll be breaking down and reviewing for you guys. So yeah, that is just a few of the perks, or a few perks of becoming a patron of my channel. And all of the support, guys, is very, very much appreciated. I cannot thank you enough. If you support on Patreon, I can't thank you enough, seriously. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, my Patreon link will be right down below in the description box for you guys to go check out if you are interested in that. And no matter what tier you choose, you will always be shouted out at the end of my videos. So if you do decide to pledge some money every month, any support, guys, will go a very long way. This is just another platform, another way for me to interact with you guys. And I tried to make all of the tiers as fair as possible, so you guys are getting a lot out of it. And yeah, without further ado, guys, now that I got that out of the way, let's jump right into this Season 1 Regionals meta breakdown. Alright, guys, so first, I'm going to be taking off my camera real quick so I can explain this first part of the Regionals meta. So please don't be alarmed. I will be right back. This is purely just because it's blocking part of the infographic off. So let me remove my camera. There we go. All right, so this is it here. So you guys can see on the left we have a rectangular box with all the flex picks. This is obviously the Silph Arena Season 1 Regionals 2019. We will explain the flex picks later on in the video, but to start this off, we have the flying group, guys, and the flying group will consist of Lugia, which is part psychic flying, Noctowl, which is part flying normal. We have Skarm, which is part steel flying, which you guys I'm sure know. And then we have Altaria, probably one of the most used flyers that is flying, and Dragon. Now immediately right off the bat here, guys, we know flyers will wall the grass types. It will be resisting, if not 2 times resisting, all of the grass type moves. Altaria is double resisting. Skarmory is double resisting. Lugia is just resisting times 1, I believe. But those sludge bombs will do a decent amount of damage. And then Noctowl is only 1 times resisting grass. So you guys know the flyers will easily stomp the grass, guys. You guys have seen that arrow there. And one other thing to point out here is that star in the bottom left for the flyer box. All these stars mean basically the matchups with the box that is the same color of the star itself. So as you can see, the star itself is like it's like a sky blue, and then the outline is blue, which means it's a win. Any outline that's red means it's a loss. So that corresponds to the box on the bottom right, that is the water types. And that matchup we'll get into a little bit later, but I just wanted to point that out. So moving on here, the flyers will also do really, really well against the fighting meta group here, and that is going to be things like Toxicroak, Medicham, Lucario. Toxicroak and Medicham are both taking super effective from the flying damage, but Lucario is only taking neutral because of that steel subtyping, guys. So definitely watch out. Lucario can definitely threaten those flyers with that Shadow Ball, and Medicham can also to a degree with that powered up Ice Punch. So you aren't totally in the clear. It depends on the shields. It depends on how much these Pokemon are powered up. But Toxicroak is a really safe option if you do switch into it. Toxicroak will get wrecked hands down by any of these flyers. Because again, things like Skarmory and Noctowl are only taking neutral damage because of their subtypings, which are Steel and Normal respectively. So yeah, that's it for the flyers, guys. Let me put my camera back on here. Alright guys, so next we have the grass users. And the grass users are going to be things like Razor Leaf Victory Bell, Venusaur with Frenzy Plant, and Tropius with that Razor Leaf. Or you could be cheeky and run that Air Slash. So you guys see those little stars there? Let's see, we have the purple star, which leads directly to the Ghost and Dark types up there, like Umbreon, Alolan Marowak, and Sableye. These grass mons will overall lose to the Darks and the Ghosts in most shielding scenarios. The only one that really puts up a good fight against them will be Venusaur, because it is a spammy Pokemon. Leaf Blade, Tropius, and Victory Bell sadly won't do much work against these at all. Umbreon is just a wall, it's thick, and Alolan Marowak is part fire, and it deals pretty nice damage with Shadow Ball. So definitely don't want to be stuck against those Pokemon unless you have a shield advantage. And then let's see here, the other star to wrap up these stars real quick is a gray star, and look at that, that's going to lead directly up. It's going to point directly over there. You guys can see it at the upper right. It's going to be the Steel, Rock, Ground types. They will overall actually lose those. The only Pokemon that will lose to the grass group is going to be Steelix, as well as sometimes Probopass and sometimes Bastion. The matchups aren't very clear for sure, but I can assure you that Melmetal and Probopass will both do work against the Razor Leafers at least. Venusaur once again is one of the only Pokemon that can beat things like Steelix, potentially Bastion if Venusaur has the shield advantage, and the same thing goes with Probopass. So these matchups definitely aren't winning. Tropius and Victory Bell will lose out against all 3 of those unless it's Steelix. Steelix is the only one that is very weak to the grass. So Melmetal, no go. You're going to lose that matchup. All these steel types are going to be resisting grass moves, but things like Bastion and Probopass won't be resisting them because they are also part rock, and Steelix will be neutral as well, I believe. Now that we have that covered, let's move on to its main selling point here, and these grass types are going to be absolutely dominant against the water meta. the water and ground meta specifically. So for things like Whiscash, Swampert, Quagsire, it's going to be a wrap. Those are dealing 2 times super effective damage to the water grounds because they are 2 times weak to grass moves. Lantern also stands no chance, and Azumarill really doesn't either. All Azumarill has going for it is the Ice Beam shield pressure, but these Razor Leafers are going to mop the floor with these waters, so there's no chance there, guys. I'm sorry. And now that we have grass type covered, let's move on to the fighter meta. And that's going to be Toxicroak with counter, Sludge Bomb, and that Mud Bomb. There's Medicham with counter, Power Up Punch, and Ice Punch. And then there's Lucario with counter, Power Up Punch, and Shadow Ball. Now this is a really interesting meta, or a group, because obviously we guys have seen these matchups a lot. They will dominate the Steel Rock types 100% of the way through. No chance. Absolutely zero chance for those guys over there. For the Rock Steels like Probo, Basti, Melmetal, it's all over for them, guys. So that's pretty self-explanatory there. But the interesting thing about these fighters is that they can actually beat the grass users, and the reason I think that is based on PV Poke Sims. Toxicroak, because it is part poison, will be resisting grass type moves, which means that its Mud Bombs will be dealing neutral to Venusaur and Victory Bell because they are both part poison. It will be dealing not very effective damage to Tropius because it is part flying. Well, actually, it'll be immune technically, but the thing is, Toxicroak has Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb will be super effective against Tropius because of its grass type subtyping. So those matchups are pretty close there, but now that we have the 2 power punchers, this is definitely a winning scenario for them because number 1, Medicham is super tanky, and of course, if it gets that shield bait and then it fires off the Ice Punch, it will definitely be a W against any 3 of these grass types. And then same thing goes for Lucario. If you can shield bait with that Power Up Punch and land a powered up Shadow Ball, that'll be a KO almost instantly because of Lucario's heavily attack based IV spread. So there you guys have it. These wins do come from shield baits, so if you don't get the shield bait, you may end up losing. But if you play it perfectly to a T, you will win these matchups. And then the fighters can actually come out on top against a lot of the water ground. And that is because it's actually really surprising, guys. You probably won't believe me until you go check out the Sims, but Lucario actually does manage to beat a bunch of the water ground boys, the mud boys, when it has shields, because those power punches do start to hurt, and those counters do start to hurt a lot on a lot of these Pokemon. Yeah, there's nothing else to really say. Lucario is a beast. Things like Medicham will be able to beat the ground waters as well. You guys know this. It's resisting those rock type moves coming from things like Quagsire. And a lot of these mud boys are tanky, but their damage output isn't really that great. It's just really spammy. But Medicham has that bulk to just out DPS them in a 1v1 fight, at least with shields. And then Toxicroak also does really, really well against the water mud boys. But take one thing into note, guys, is that Azumarill will be the one that can beat the Medicham, and it is a very close fight against Lucario and Toxicroak. So you definitely aren't safe to switch in, especially if that Azumarill has an energy lead. But from an even start with shields, Toxicroak and Lucario can both beat Azumarill, as well as the other groundwater guys. So take that into note there. And then the really interesting thing here is that they do go back and forth against the Steel Psychics. And these are some new additions, because Bronzong now has Bulldoze and Psyshock. And then we have a new addition, Jirachi. which has confusion, as well as the steel charge move and psychic. So obviously Toxicroak there will be dominated, but the reason I have an arrow pointing both directions is because Medicham and Lucario can both actually beat these confusion users, these steel psychic users, in an even shield scenario. They do come out on top in the majority, 2 out of 3, based on 0, 0, 1, 1, and 2, 2. Medicham and Lucario can both take them on. So it all comes down to HP, shields, energy, stuff like that. So they can sway either way. Now that we got that covered, I believe, yes we did, let's move on to the water and ground and electric meta there. So here, guys, we have things like Whiscash, we have Lantern, Azumarill, Quagsire, and the newly added Swampert. So I'm sure you guys know all the movesets here. You want a ground charge move, and a water fast move, as well as Ice Beam, Play Rough. Or no, you actually want Play Rough, Hydro Pump on Azumarill, guys. So take that into note. For regionals, you do want Hydro Pump for sure. All these sims are based on Hydro Pump Azu. So first things first, they do actually come out on top against the Psychic Steels, and that is because the Mud Boys, first off, will be dealing super effective damage, super effective spammy damage. Swampert, Quag, and Whiscash will absolutely mop the floor with them. That's pretty self-explanatory. And those steel type moves won't be dealing very effective damage against anything but Azumarill. So you guys don't have to shield that, but those psychics will actually hurt quite a bit. So definitely just be wary. And then Lantern also can beat them. It's a very close matchup though. And the same thing goes for Azumarill. Those two specifically are the matchups you want to watch out for, because they both can lose if given the right scenario. So yeah, that's number 1. And number 2, they will actually beat about 3/4 or all 4 of the Steel Rock boys, like Probo, Basti, Melmetal, and Steelix. At least if we're talking about things like Lantern, Whiscash, Quagsire, and Swampert. Azumarill has a different story. We'll get right into that right after these. But obviously, the ground type users like Quag, Swamp, and Whiscash will dominate Probo, Melmetal, Bastiodon, and Steelix. There's pretty much no chance for them. Lantern as well will easily be able to beat Steelix, Bastiodon, and Probopass. It'll struggle a little bit more against Melmetal, but the pure tankiness that Lantern has will be able to outdo that Melmetal, even though Water Gun is only dealing neutral damage. So you'll be safe in that scenario. And one thing to take into note is Steelix can beat Lantern if it gets the shield bait and if it lands an Earthquake. So that has to be in the one shield scenario. And then we get into Azumarill, which is a slightly different case, because Azumarill is highly dependent upon a shield bait. And running Hydro Pump, it will win against Bastiodon, that's 100%. And it will also for sure win against Steelix. But the tricky scenarios are Melmetal and Probopass. And Melmetal, Probopass will be able to dominate Azumarill as long as they don't get shield baited, because Hydro Pump will nearly one-shot KO Melmetal and or Probopass. So definitely watch out, but you don't have to be worried too much, because Melmetal has really spammy electric moves, and so does Probopass. So those will usually dominate Azumarill as long as you guys don't get shield baited. And then we have the stars over here. You guys will see them in the bottom right and top right hand corners. The bottom right one is the flyer box, so it does win a majority of those matchups. Like things like Noctowl, Skarmory, and Lugia will all be weak to things like Ice Beam, things like T-Bolt coming from that Lantern, and other things like Stone Edge coming from Quag, as well as Blizzard coming from Whiscash. So those matchups again are dependent upon a shield bait, but they are really tanky, so it all depends how you play it out and if you can get the shield bait or not. Swampert is one of the only Pokemon that really can't handle those flyers quite as well, because it doesn't have a move that can hit them super effectively, guys. Whereas every single one of these other 4 water types do have something that can hit the flyers for super effective. Like I said, Ice Beam, Stone Edge, Blizzard, and T-Bolt, aka Thunderbolt. So yeah, there you guys have it. And then we have the purple star with the blue outline, representing a win against the Ghost Darks. And this is pretty self-explanatory, guys. Azu is Fairy, and Fairy is super effective against Umbreon and against Sableye. That's a wrap. And because Alolan Marowak is part fire, all these water and ground moves will absolutely shred through him. And Umbreon can actually take these Pokemon pretty well. But considering that Sableye and Alolan Marowak both get wrecked by the entirety of this water and ground meta, we consider this a loss. So Umbreon is really the only one that can come close to a win against these Pokemon. So yeah, definitely don't switch a Sableye in to, say, Quagsire or Swampert. That's a no-no. So yeah, that covers it for the water group. Next, we get into the steel, electric, ground, whatever you want to call them. If they are the walls, guys, they are a brick wall. You see this? You see my fist? They are a brick wall. You will not get through them unless you're a mud boy or a fighter. But yeah, guys, so like I said earlier, Probo and Melmetal are the only ones that have positive matchups against Azu, as you can see on the screen. They will be able to defeat the Confusion users, the Psychic users, because Confusion, Psychic is not very effective against Steel, and overall they are just out tanking those Steel types, and their charge moves just come way too fast for the Steels, and they charge up, or the Psychics and the Psychic Steels charge up really slow. So you're safe no matter what matchup it is, and Steelix has that crunch to deal super effective damage to the Psychic subtyping. And then one of the last matchups here is against the Ghost and Dark group. They will win those matchups for sure, because Alolan Marowak, once again, part fire, rock, super effective against fire, and all these Pokemon know one rock type move at least, other than Steelix actually, which is pretty funny. But Steelix knows Earthquake, and that will one shot pretty much all these Pokemon besides Umbreon, because Umbreon is just so thick. But yeah, it's all over for the Ghost Darks, guys. Not much really to say there. They are just either way too tanky or way too spammy with their charge moves, and these Pokemon are for the most part pretty squishy, besides Sableye. So yeah, and last but not least, here we have that green star, guys, with the blue outline, and that points directly to the grass types. And the grass types, like I said earlier, will lose to the majority of these Pokemon. Things like Melmetal and Bastion should, I say should, because assuming even on shields, Bastion and Melmetal should be able to beat these grass users. Melmetal, pure steel, resisting grass. Rock throws will be neutral and super effective against Tropius. So yeah, that's a GG. Steelix is the least tankiest of all these and will lose to the grass types. But Bastion is a wall, defeats Tropius, it defeats any Razor Leafer. It needs to be against an opponent that has really high shield pressure to lose. And if it has a shield up against Venusaur, it's GG's. And same thing goes for Probopass. Even though Probopass is hitting for not very effective with Electric, it again has that Magnet Bomb, which is neutral against all three of these Pokemon, and it's just really tanky. Yeah, that's it for that. And let's get into the Dark Ghost type group. And that's going to be Umbreon with Last Resort, Alolan Marowak, and Sableye. Now, interesting thing about these is that they will be able to easily handle the Steel Electrics, or not Steel, easily be able to handle the Steel Psychic types like Jirachi and Bronzong, as well as other things like Gallied. So, considering that, they are a really safe counter to these two Pokemon, and they will lose to the Water Ground Boys, and they will be able to beat the Grass types once again. Umbreon for the most part, and since Alolan Marowak is part Fire, those Grass moves won't be doing very much damage. And then Sableye, it's a pretty close battle, but Sableye does have access to Power Gem, and that will do work against Tropius. Anything that Sableye throws at these will do a lot more work than what's thrown at him. And then yeah, these Pokemon do go head to head against the Flyers, guys. Once again, they will beat the Flyer that is Lugia because it is part Psychic. You guys know Ghost and Dark are both super effective against Psychic, so they will win, but it's a very close fight against things like Altaria, Skarm, and Noctowl. The matchups are extremely close, guys. That's why I have an arrow pointing both directions. And Umbreon can actually do work against the majority of those 4 Flyers because of its pure tankiness and the fact that Dark is hitting pretty much for neutral against everything in that group. So yeah, there you have it for the core meta, guys. Now let's quickly review what new Pokemon have come into the meta and why I consider them flex picks or wild cards. So guys, try not to be scared here. I took off my camera to show you guys the flex picks, and of course the credit to my YouTube channel because I made this myself. But we have flex picks like the old flex picks like Haunter, Charizard, Frostlass, Beedrill, Tentacruel, and we have very, very newly emerged ones like Relicanth, Wigglytuff, Togekiss, Clefable, Gallied, Trash Wormadam, as well as the Double Legacy Magneton. And you guys know the deal with the original flex picks like Haunter, Beedrill, Charizard, Frostlass, Tentacruel. They all have their own specific roles. Like Haunter can beat, let's see here, Haunter can beat the grass, it can beat the fighters, it can do somewhat decent against things like Probopass. That's about it. Then we have the Beedrill there that was used to counter the grass types, used to counter the fighters, and can do somewhat decently against the water ground type users. We got Charizard that doesn't really have that great of a role, but it can definitely do work against Melmetal, against Steelix and Probopass, as well as Skarmory, the Steel Psychics, and the Grass. And it can even do pretty well against the fighters, considering Lucario is weak to fire. Then we had Frostlass, a great counter to some of the Flyers, a squishy counter to the Grass, as well as a soft, really, really soft counter to the fighters. Yeah, that's pretty much Frostlass's role. We have the Magneton, which is basically like the Steels, but a lot less tanky. We have Trash Wormadam, which is really interesting because it does beat the Fairies. Because it is part Steel and it has Steel charge moves. It will wall the grass types. And it'll have really close matchups against a lot of this meta, to be completely honest with you. It is really tanky and it's basically like a fortress, guys. So yeah, take that in a note. Wormadam Trash is definitely a considerable option for this cup. And then we have our boy Gallied, which was brought up by Valor Ash when he used it in his regionals. It will, with Confusion, it will just annihilate the grass users. It will counter the fighters really, really well. It can have a one-shot KO ability against the double weak waters. It will get beat hard by the confusion in the flyers, as well as the ghost starks, and it can actually do really well against the tanky walls, things like Bastiodon, Probopass, Steelix. Most of those are 2 times weak to the close combat, so if you can land those, that's an instant KO. Then we have the charm users, guys. These are really interesting. You have Clefable, Togekiss, and Wigglytuff. The charm users will get wrecked by the grass, but they will do extremely well against the fighting. They will do pretty decent against the flying, being able to beat Altaria really well. And they also do pretty decently against the water grounds. Pretty close matchups overall. Charm is just a really strong move. They will definitely lose to the Steels though, because Steel is super effective against Fairy and Steel is resisting Fairy. So yeah, there's that. And then I'm assuming they do lose against the Steel Psychics in the middle. So yeah, but definitely watch out for the charm users, guys. I didn't have enough space to include them in here, otherwise I would have, but they're really somewhat changing the meta a little bit here, so definitely watch out for those. And then we have our boy Tentacruel, which its main role, guys, is to just wall Azumarill, and that's really all it does. And then we have Relicanth, which was used by, I think it was Peace Love Hugs, or I think it was Peace Love Hugs who used Relicanth. I can't remember. Comment down below who used Relicanth. But yeah, Relicanth has some nice moves with that ancient power, potential boost, and water gun and surf. That does pretty well against the flyers. And yeah, it's very certain matchups, so I'm not really aware of its matchups. I just put it in there because, you know, Matt swore, or whoever used Relicanth, did really well with it. So yeah, guys, that actually wraps it up here for the Regionals updated Season 1 meta infograph and analysis breakdown, whatever you want to call it. It was a bit long, I'm sorry about that, but there is just a lot to go over here, and a lot of new things have come into the meta that have changed the game completely. So yeah, I just wanted to really specify everything with you guys so you have a great understanding going into your regionals tournament. And I really hope this helped you out and gave you some really solid info on each group within the regionals meta, as well as the matchups themselves. So definitely pause the video, screenshot this if you want it as a resource. Whenever my camera isn't up, make sure to screenshot it then so you can see the entire graph and it's just beauty. No, but seriously, tell me down in the comments below what you thought of this video, how you like this infograph. Tell me if you would like to see more of these videos for the other cups, specifically things like Twilight. So yeah, that wraps it up for the video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Please smash that subscribe, leave a like, comment down below, and hit that bell, as well as follow my Twitter to be notified whenever I upload and go live. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that subscribe. Maybe it's down there in the corner. Smash that subscribe maybe. But yeah, thank you all for watching. A reminder once again, if you would like to support me on Patreon, please consider it. If you would like to see more content on this channel, and if you would like to see me travel around the globe to compete in these high player tournaments, and maybe one day I will see you at a tournament near you. Yeah, I would like to say thank you all for watching so much. Appreciate all the support on recent videos, and until the next video, guys, I'll be catching you all in about 2 hours from now in Pogo Kiang stream. And until then, I will talk to you all later. Have a fantastic day, and peace out.